Hi, my name is Sachit Lumba, and this video will be used as evidence for testing for my AQA A-Level Computing Non-Examination Assessment project. My project is a MUN portal for Model United Nations where delegations or users can sign up and sign up for conferences, which the members that are organizing it can use the portal for various conference related tasks like managing and other uses as well. This first clip will be used to test the login and register page. This test plan will outline all the tests that I will be going through in order to ensure that my solution works as required. Test number 1, test the login page to see whether the password is in asterisks when typed. For this test, I will be typing the data hello into the password field, and the result should be 5 asterisks shown in the text box. So we will go to the login page, and I will leave the username blank currently, but I will type in HELLO to the password field, and as we can see, there are 5 dots. Therefore, the test has been passed. For test number 2, we will check that an invalid username cannot be entered and cannot log in. So for this, we will be using the Django administration panel, which is a visualization of the database, to check whether data already exists or not. So for this example, we can check all the users that exist, and we can find that there is no user with the username hello. So entering hello would result in an invalid username. So let's try this out. So with the username hello and password hello, we do get the message invalid username or password. This test therefore passes. Now we will go to the login page again and check that an invalid password cannot be entered. We will be using the account Sachit for this, and I will type in password to the password field. The same message, invalid username or password, should show up, and we should not be allowed to log in. Here I'm entering Sachit as the username and password as the password. When I press login, we do in fact get the invalid username message. Next, we will be testing the 3 account types that this solution holds, which are delegations, chairs, and secretariats. Each of them will be tested while logging in, and we will ensure that they are taken to the correct home pages. So first, we will ensure that all these 3 accounts do in fact exist. Here is the delegation, chair, and secretariat account, all with these respective emails. First, we will test whether the delegation account can log in. So over here we have the username delegation1 and the password P12345667 as specified in the test plan. When we do log in, we are redirected successfully to the delegation home page where we can see the delegate table, which is currently empty. We can see all our correct navigation panels, and therefore this test has been passed. So we will log out so we can try it with the chair account next. So for the chair, we'll enter the same data, and we should be redirected to the chair home page. Our username is chair1 with the same password as last time, P12345667. Once we press login, we are logged in successfully with a message, and we are redirected to the chair home page where we can see all the pages that a chair account can access. Lastly, we will try this with a secretariat account. We have created an account sec1 with a password P12345667, and we will log in, and we are successfully redirected and logged in. This means that tests 4, 5, and 6 have been passed successfully. Now we will move on to testing the registration page. Our first task is to check that 2 entered password fields do match. First, we will navigate to the register page, and we will enter in password field 1 P12345667, P12345678. all these fields are required, so I must enter test emails and as well as a test username. So when I press submit, the expected result is for a message saying the two password fields did not match. When I do this, in fact, the message does show up, and this confirms that the two password fields did not match. Thus, the test has been passed. Next, we have to check that email is a required field. So I will fill all the other fields in and leave only the email field blank while trying to submit the form. So we'll use the same password this time, which is P12345667 and P12345667, so they do match. When I press submit, the pop-up says please fill in this field, and the test has been passed. Now lastly, we will check that a delegation account can be registered with the username test, the email@gmail.com, and the same passwords as used before. So we have our username test, we have our email@gmail.com, we have our two passwords, which are both P12345667. When we press register, unfortunately, a user with this email already exists, which means I will have to change the email as the email has been used as a unique field. So I will change the email to something that already is not here. So I can change it to email@email.com. With the same password as before. When we press submit, we are successfully logged in and redirected to the delegation information page. This is as expected, which means that the test has been passed. Lastly, unintentionally, test number 10 was also completed to ensure that two accounts with the same email cannot be registered. And in fact, this email was used, and the message a user with this email already exists was in fact thrown, which is good, so the test was passed. Our next test for this clip will be a logout test. So just simply check that a user can successfully log out and that they will be redirected to the home page, which is the login register page. For this, I will simply click log out, which results in us logging out and being redirected to the home page, which means that tests 1 through 11 have passed. Next, we will be testing test numbers 12 through 22. All of them revolve around the delegation user. So for this, first we will log in as a delegation user with the username delegation1. We are now logged in. Our first test, number 12, is on the delegation page to add a delegate. This page is accessed by this green button here. The first test is to check that all the fields are required. The result is that expected result is for pop-ups to show saying that all the fields are required. So we will procedurally go filling in each field and making sure that the rest are required, and we cannot submit the form. So we will do this simultaneously with test number 13 while filling in these informations listed here for the delegate. First, we will try to add a delegate. It's said that the first name field is marked as required, so we will fill it in. We will try again. Last name field is required as well. Repeating this process, the email, which we will use email@gmail.com. As we can see, the date field is also required. Once we fill that in, the conference field is also required. We still cannot submit, which means that the committee preference fields are also required, but the pop-up does not show but we still cannot submit a delegate. So we will select the committee and country UNSC and UK. Our next test is to check whether we can submit a delegate. So we will do this by pressing add delegate, and we can see that the delegate has been added and the details of the delegate can be seen over here. We can verify this in the admin panel by looking at the delegates. We can see that now there is a row of the delegate F name, L name in the delegation, test delegation, with the correct email, date of birth, and the correct details. Our next test is to check that a user cannot add more delegates than specified in the delegate information. So we will go to our delegate information and keep the size, specify the size to be 1. This is allowable as there's currently only one delegate in our delegation. As we try to add another delegate, we get an error message saying please change your delegation size before you add another delegate. This is in order, and this means that the test has been passed. Next, we will check. This means that tests 12, 13, and 14 have all been passed. Next, we will check if a user can successfully edit and save delegate details. So we must check whether we can access a delegate edit page by pressing this button. We are in fact redirected correctly, and all the details are filled in accurately as to how we had inputted it in the add delegate form. Now we are going to check if we can edit and save delegate details. In this example, we will change the first name to F_name. And the expected result is for a message to saying you've saved the delegate's information, redirecting us to the home page. We have accurately done this, and it's shown up correctly on this page. Thus, test number 15 and 16 have also been completed. Test number 17 is checking that a user cannot upload a position paper for a delegate without an allocation. As we can see, that this delegate does not have an allocated country and committee yet, so they should not be able to submit a position paper. When we try to submit, we are given an error message which says that we are not allowed to upload a position paper until a delegate has been allocated a country and committee. This is in line with the expected result, and hence the test is considered as complete. For the next two tests, the delegate is required to be allocated. So we will do this from the admin panel. We will go into the table allocations. We will create an allocation for the country UK in the UNSC, and we will add the delegate F name, L name to it. We can see that this has in fact been saved by the appearance of the country and the committee. Now when we try to click submit position paper, we are successfully redirected to the page, and we are given the option to upload a file. Our first file we will upload is a Word file, which is testfile.docx. We will choose the file which is stored in the testing folder. We will upload testfile.docx. This has been successfully added to the field, and when we press upload, the position paper has been uploaded successfully. We can see that has been uploaded as the option already appears, and it shows the current position paper. We can also verify this in the admin page by looking at position papers, and we can actually see that the position paper for the delegate has been uploaded, and we can see the timestamp as well, which has been uploaded at. Next, we are going to check that a user can actually edit and save a new position paper, and while checking that a PDF file can also be submitted. So our file now to upload is called testfile.pdf, which is also in the same folder. We can upload that, and once we press upload and save, we can correctly check that in fact the new position paper is testfile.pdf. We can verify this here as well. While clicking on it, we can see that the document is testfile.pdf. Thus, ensuring that tests 18 and 19 have successfully been passed and position paper uploads are suitable. We will, for the purposes of having a delegate already and not having to create one more, we will test number 21 and 22 before number 20, due to the fact that they require a delegate present in the delegation already to perform the test, and 20 is deleting a delegate. So test number 21 is checking that a user cannot change the delegation size to lower than the current number of delegates. So if we have one delegate in the delegation, we should not be able to change the delegation size to 0. So if you go to delegation information and try to reduce it to 0 by pressing save, this error message does come up. However, another message comes up and that will be addressed and fixed. However, the test is successfully passed. But the test is passed, the user is redirected to the information page. However, there's another message about the information being saved, which is incorrect, which should not appear. Test number 22 checks whether a user can redirect to a different page while having this error currently affecting them. So they should not be able to redirect back to the delegate details page while having more delegates than mentioned in the delegation size. So currently we do have that issue, but if we try to redirect to the delegation page, we are not allowed to leave, and it says you have more delegates than your delegation size states. Please change it. So this test is also passed correctly. So to be able to redirect back, we have to change it, save it to 1, and we can successfully go back. Now we will perform test number 20, where we try to delete a delegate's details. We will try this just by pressing the delete button, and as we can see, a pop-up says, are you sure you want to delete the delegate? And if we press yes, the delegate is successfully deleted, and we can verify this in the admin page by looking at the delegates and seeing that in fact the delegate has been removed. This concludes test number 12 to 22, which revolve around the delegation user account. Next, we will take a look at test number 23 to 30, which all revolve around chair users. To begin with this, we are already logged in as the account chair1 and are at the home page. Our first test is to check that the chair user is redirected to the committee progress sheet of their own committee. So as we can see, there is a progress sheet for the committee UNSC, and as a chair user, chair 1 is allocated to the committee UNSC. So we should be directed to the UNSC position progress sheet document. And as we can see, we are redirected here with the date, and the pre-filled data is test data and with a bunch of different formats, and we can check that it's the correct position progress sheet. We can verify this in the admin page to ensure that it's the correct progress sheet we've been redirected to. Thus, the test has been passed, and now we must check that the progress sheet is created when the user clicks on the page, if it does not already exist. So to do this, we'll just delete the progress sheet. We do that like this. So now there is no progress sheet for the UNSC committee. So when clicking on this, there should be no error thrown when trying to access, because the document should already be created automatically. And we can see there is a new progress sheet which is empty. So the test has been passed. Check that our next test is to check that the user can edit and save details of the progress sheet, and we will input this data, which is just test data. And once we input it, we can see that it's saved. We can check that the document has actually been created automatically and has been saved correctly. This means that test number 25 has also been passed. Our next tests are with the chair logistics request page. We will navigate using the drop down bar. Our test is to check that a user can create and file a proper logistics request. So with the description, a Wi-Fi issue. So we should click on the request and type in Wi-Fi issue. When we submit the request, we can see that it's added to the list of our requests successfully, and we can verify that it's actually been added to the database. And as we can see, the description Wi-Fi issue with the correct committee and time and status. This means that 26 has also been passed. Next, we must check if we can edit the request by pressing on the edit button, and the test data that we are using is water bottles required. Once we save it, the description has in fact changed. We can verify this in the admin panel, and this means that the test has been passed correctly. Next, we will just check if a user can delete the request sufficiently using the delete button. Once we press it, we get a pop-up, and it's been removed from the list after we delete it, and it's also been removed correctly from the database. Lastly, we must check that a user can view all the position papers of delegates from the committee. So in the admin panel, we can see that no position papers have been uploaded. So to do that, we must upload a position paper. We will do this by logging into a delegation account. And a delegate has already been allocated to the correct committee, which is the UNSC. So as we press submit position paper, we can choose the file test file.docx and upload it. So a position paper has been uploaded to the correct committee. We can log back into the chair account. We can also see that it has been uploaded here, and the delegate has been allocated to the to this committee. So we can check the position papers, and we can see that it is correctly showing up in the list. This means that test number 29 has also been passed. The download button does appear, and our last test is to just check that the download button works and that we can download the position paper file correctly. When we press download, we do in fact get the download file, and and it opens correctly. This test file was saved with no information, and it's opened correctly. So this means that test number 30 also passes, and that concludes all the tests for the chair users. Our last set of tests will be for the secretariat users. So these tests are numbered 31 to 45. We'll start with test number 31, which is the chair, which revolves around the chair account adding page. We are already logged in to the account sec1, and here's the chair adding form. This form creates an account which will be linked to a committee, and chairs can log in from the main login page. There's no other way to create a chair account and link it to a committee other than using this page and the Django admin page. The test 31 states that check that a user cannot create a chair account with selecting a committee. So essentially we're checking that this committee field is required. So our test data is chair2test@gmail.com, P12345667 and P12345667. As we can see, the expected result is that the form does not submit. So when I press add chair account, the form doesn't submit, which is in order. That means the test has passed. Our next test is to check that a user cannot create an account with the same email as another account. So for this, we will select a committee. However, we will change the email to an email that is already in the database, which is email@gmail.com. Let's just verify this in the users, and says that okay, email@gmail.com is already a registered email address. While doing add chair account, it correctly pops up user with this email already exists. The test has therefore been passed. Lastly, our job is to check that a user can create a correct chair account. So we'll be using the username chair2 and email test@gmail.com, and the chair should be linked to the UNSC committee. So this creates a chair account successfully, links it to a committee. Let's just verify this. We can see that a user has been added with the correct email. It is a chair account, and when we go into the chair's profile, we can see that it's been added to a committee correctly. This means that test number 33 has also been passed successfully. Next, our job is to look at the Secretariat allocations page. And our first test to check is that allocation slots are not shown if a committee is not selected. So we go to the page and the committee field is blank, and correctly this message appears which says please select a committee. That means this test has also been passed. Next, test number 35 says check that allocation slots for a committee are shown when the committee is selected. So we are going to first go to the allocations page, and we are going to create some allocations for the committee UNHRC. So let's select the committee UNHRC, and let's add a country UK to it right now. And next, let's add a country India. So as we can see, we can filter the allocations by committee, and there are two allocations in the committee UNHRC. So by selecting it, these should show up, which are UK and India, which is correct. This test has been correctly passed. Next, we need to check that we can filter all the delegates, but by delegation. So for this, we need to see that all the delegates. We can see that currently there are no delegates showing, but that's because the delegate that we had in the database had already been allocated to a committee. So initially we will complete later test by checking test number 39, which is check that the user can remove a delegate from an allocation. So the reason we couldn't see any delegates in this list was because allocated delegates do not show up in the list, and the one delegate that was in the database had been allocated already, so hence the list came up as empty. So we will check the test by pressing this X button, and the delegate should appear over here on the left. So when we press the X button, the delegate successfully is removed and it appears in the list of unallocated delegates. This means that test number 39 has been passed correctly, and in fact the slot does become an empty div. We will continue with tests in order. Now we will continue with test number 36. Check that a user can filter a list of delegates by delegation, and we can see that if we filter by test delegation, which this delegate is in, it does show him correctly, but if we change the delegation, it filters by that as well. So this delegation currently has an empty set of delegates, hence there is no delegate shown. So this means that test number 36 is passed correctly. Test number 37 is to check that we can filter delegates by delegation as well as committee preference. So we will, for example, check which delegates have UNSC listed as their committee preference, and this delegate correctly does. And if we make it UNHRC, the list is empty considering there are no delegates which have the preference as UNHRC. So this means that test number 37 passes as well. Lastly, we are going to test whether we can allocate a delegate to a country and committee. by dragging and dropping. So selecting the UNHRC, we can drag the delegate and drop it in the correct slot, and the delegate's allocated successfully and it appears in the correct list, and we have the option to delete it. Let's just verify that the allocation has happened in the database by checking allocations to the we can see that UNHRC UK has been allocated to the delegate Sachit Lumba. Therefore, test number 38 has been passed. 39 had been passed initially earlier. So we'll be moving on to test 40. Test number 40 is to check that the user can view stored text of a committee progress page with the correct format. So for this, we will go to the progress sheets page and view the UNHRC progress sheet. Currently, there's no text, hence it says none, but to check that we can view formatted text, we will manually edit it in the admin page. So we will try normal text, as well as bold text, as well as italic text. We can press save and then verify this over here, and although the bold text does not look very clear, it is there and italic text does show up correctly. This means that test number 40 is passed, and to move on to the test number 41, we must check that we can switch to another committee's progress document using the sidebar. We'll do that using the UNSC progress document, and we can in fact navigate to it, and we can see there's test data that has been inputted earlier. Therefore, test number 41 has been passed as well. Next, our next tests are on the requests page, with our first test being checked that the user can filter requests by their committees that they've been submitted by. So we will go there, and we can see that all the tests that have been submitted currently, as we can see, they're from 2 committees. So we will filter them by committee UNHRC initially, and as we can see, it's been filtered. So this is the one request been uploaded by this committee, which means that test number 42 has been passed. Test number 43 checks whether the user can filter requests by what they contain in their description. So we will check whether the description contains Wi-Fi. And it is correctly filtered by this. We can also verify this request is correctly filtered because it has Wi-Fi in the description. We'll just test again using water, and we should get the other one come up. Therefore, test number 43 has been passed successfully as well. Our last 2 tests are just checking whether the secretary user can change the request status from complete to incomplete by clicking the button. So by clicking this, it should change to the complete status, and it does. And the last test is to check whether it becomes incomplete on clicking of this button, and if we click it again, it's changed. Therefore, all tests have been passed regarding the Secretariat view, and this concludes evidence for all the testing for the testing of the project. Thank you.